stood enchanted. I spoke first. I represent the planet Earth, my place of birth. There was silence around the universe. For a time and times to come, you're in the gallery of the gods. Amongst the legends, in their presence from galaxies afar. Cashapp, Cashtag, Asha, Moses, the man of Nazareth.
What up, what up? Once again. Let me stop this music. All right. Once again, we currently fasting. How's your progress? Peace. Peace was good, man. Morning. You know what I mean? We don't get no sleep over here. You know what I'm saying? This is why this is called Realism 101. Now that we got past the chaos, now we can speak in realistic terms. I've been at work all night. Have you slept? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You starving, but you're gonna come back with a higher consciousness? Absolutely. Salute to you for the fasting, man. You know what I mean? Not everybody can endure that hunger. So, you know what I mean? You're an honorable person in my eyes. And definitely come back with that higher consciousness. Let motherfuckers know what the deal is. Now, Realism 101. What is that? Now that we have understood everything is chaotic, right? We conquered the chaos. We understand what we're dealing with at least. We laid the foundation, right? Now what? How do you apply this shit? How do you actually, you know, see for yourself what's going on with your own eyes, have your own experience? Right. I'm actually gonna walk around. I was gonna stand over here, but it's the witching hour in Vegas. It's 6 a.m. on the East Coast, so shout out to the East Coast. It's like 6 a.m. over there, but over here it's still 3 a.m. A little bit after 3. So let me walk around a little bit so y'all can see how empty it is right now. So here's the freeway actually. So you see it's little to no movement, right? All right, okay, let's go. So we still out here while everybody in their bed sleep or just scared to come outside. We still in this motherfucker. East Coast. You know what I mean? Shout out to the East Coast. 3 a.m. your favorite time of the day. Mine too. That's why we out here right now. So, now that we understand chaos, we should understand the streets. We should understand gambling. We should understand every day is different, right? The sun rises at a different time every day. Although we may go to work at the same time, the sun doesn't rise at the same time every day. The sun doesn't set at the same time every day. It's different every single day. Chaos. Every single day is completely different. It may appear the same because of the environment, but every day is not just slightly different. Every day is completely different. Let's take it further. In the midst of the chaos, for example, the moment you step out of your door, you subject yourself to the chaos. However, within the chaos can be found opportunity. The opportunity that can be found will either make or break you. What do I mean? The so-called fast life, right? The hustling life, you know, being in the streets, constantly in motion, hustling. The fast life, or the accelerated life, or the chaos lifestyle, is based on the principle of nothing can be predicted. One day you're alive, the next day you're dead. One day you're broke, the next day you're rich. Not rich, but you know, you have some type of money in your pocket, where just the day before you don't have anything. Or you can have a lot of money one day and no money the next day, right? So, in the chaotic lifestyle, for example, let's use gambling. Gambling is ruled by chaos theory. If you understand chaos theory, you can understand gambling and why it seems to be unpredictable, yet and still there's a law and order behind even the chaos. So when you add these elements together, now we can understand why certain people or certain beings choose to live a particular type of lifestyle. It's not out of ignorance, it's actually out of wisdom. See, now we're going real deep. Because we understand you can either live in reality or you can live in the fabrication. You can either take the red pill or you can take the blue pill. When you take the red pill and you subject yourself to absolute reality in terms of chaos theory and what actually goes on, meaning safety is never on your mind. What do I mean? When you step into the streets, when you step into a certain lifestyle, of course you don't want to get caught. You don't want to lose your life. But you understand that it may be a possibility. But you still do it, regardless of the reasons. Meaning, somebody in the streets can go through, let's just say, $10,000 in a whole week, right? They done got the money and lost it, or doing whatever the fuck, blew it, gambling, you know, paying bills, whatever the case. Whereas it may take another person months, or even longer than that, to get that type of money, and they just doing regular shit, you know what I mean, paying bills, feeding their family, doing this, doing that, right? But somebody who's in the chaos is going through money quick. Sometimes small amounts, sometimes large amounts. However, when you are in absolute realism, you understand that's just a natural process of life. Life and chaos go together. The order is there, but it's hidden. It's hidden order. See, this man-made order that we see with street roads and stores and electric lights and cars, this is an artificial order where everything just seems fine and dandy. This is an artificial order. Things appear, get this view over here, things appear to be going smooth and flowing smooth and business as usual. That's what it appears to be. However, beyond the surface, when you peel back the layers, it is absolute chaos. None of these businesses made the same amount of money they did the day before, and they're not going to make the same amount of money they did today, tomorrow. Right? That's business as usual, right? It's when you become, you know, more interested in business and ownership, you know, doing your own thing, you start to familiarize yourself with these type of concepts anyway, where, you know, whereas if you are in a controlled environment, you're going to make a set wage regardless of how you perform. As long as you're there and you perform your duties for your 8, 10, 12 hours, you're getting a steady paycheck and it gives you some type of safety. However, when you're on the streets, whether you live on the streets, whether you hustle in the streets, whether you are involved, you have your own business, and you subjected to the law of chaos because you don't know how You know, how good you're gonna do, you don't really know. Everything is based on nature. Now you have to tap into natural science. You don't have to tap into natural science in the artificial creations. There's no need to. And this is the programming. If you don't have to tap into your natural science, aka like I was saying in the previous video, if you do not have to tap into your killer instinct, when that is being suppressed, because now you have safety, you don't operate the same way you would if it was activated. For example, if you knew you had enemies that can potentially roll up on you and take your life at any moment, you would be a lot more alert than you would if you didn't have enemies, where you can just walk up and down your neighborhood with nothing to worry about. You know, you will pretty much, you're not going to be mentally stimulated as you would if you think, all right, somebody could potentially take my life, or they can rob me, or they can do this, do that. You're going to be more alert because you understand what's going on around you. You understand your environment. So you're not going to slip up. That depends on the neighborhood. This is what I'm saying. Every neighborhood isn't like that, but some are. Right? Every neighborhood isn't like that, but some are. So you don't get a chance to be lazy. You don't get a chance to rest. You don't get a chance to sometimes think things completely through and plan things like you would if you were guaranteed safety. If you're a warrior on the battlefield, it's the same rules apply. You in the streets or you in war, the same rules apply. When you are in the mind state of a warrior, because you understand this is war, and we are at war, just not physically. There's no war going on around here. The war is going on with the mind and the spirit. Because if it deactivates your killer instinct, that's deactivated, and you have no idea how to utilize your spirituality. Physically, you're free. You can do whatever the fuck you want physically, but you have no idea who you are, what you're doing here. You're trying to figure shit out, and you just have no understanding of anything other than how to survive on a basic level. So you can get by knowing basic shit, but if you try to do anything extraordinary, you have to understand chaos. Because this is everything that the average person is not willing to do. You have to be willing to do what everybody else is unwilling to do. For example, that's why I use the example of the streets. Everybody isn't willing to live that lifestyle. Everybody isn't willing to go to war. Everybody isn't willing to stay up 24 hours. You know what I mean? Chaos is the wound that bursts order, the illusion unravels at different interval depending on the individual. I'm talking about absolutes. I'm not really talking about individuals. Chaos theory exists on all levels of life. Whether you know it or don't know it, whether you care or you don't care, it exists regardless. Now, how it manifests to you, it still manifests the same way regardless. You're going to run into chaos whether you like it or not. You're going to be faced with all type of decisions whether you like it or not. However, don't let me hit this button real quick. The difference is, like we see now, it's 3 a.m., right? Streets is pretty much empty. Couple cars here, a couple cars there. All you see is me, right? You don't see no other humans besides a dude at the bus stop, right? Either everybody's asleep or they're in the house. They're not coming out here. In their mind, why the fuck am I coming out here? I'm going to remain in the safety of my home, in the safety of my room, in the safety of my bed. It's about safety, right? Because you don't know what the fuck may happen. You don't know who these people are. You don't know who may, you know, people tend to be a lot more fearful at night, especially around these hours. They don't know what may happen. So you're not coming out here unless you have a reason to. You're not just coming out here just to take a walk, just to do a YouTube live video. All right? So, anything can happen while you motherfucker, anything can happen right now. However, now that we understand realism, because I wish there was more nighttime, you wish there was more nighttime, well, you know, no, you would never see people if it was more nighttime. You know what I mean? See, this is programming. Yeah, daytime is too busy, especially, yeah, definitely in New York. You know what I mean? It's fucking ridiculous. You know what I mean? But the thing I do like about New York is the energy, because it is a number 5. It is a Mercury energy, so it's super accelerated. But I understand why you would prefer the night, because the night is a completely different energy. So, let me get back on point here. People are programmed to be inside at nighttime in the chaos. Chaos is way more potent at night because that melanin is sparking, as I was talking about earlier. However, this is when all the opportunities manifest themselves more so than the daytime, because in the daytime, you're not really focused because it's all these people, all these cars, it's all this stuff going on in the daytime. So you can't really focus on nature. This is what I'm talking about. It's too much going on for you to truly focus on the chaos, because it's chaos happening all around you. It's too hard to focus in the natural science. And the natural science is going on within you. Let me give you an example. If you wanted to study these trees, let me show you these trees, right? Let's just say you wanted to see the differences between the trees, because you understand that every tree is different. They may be in the same family, but there are no 2 trees that are the same. Now, they may look similar, but what if you wanted to discover the differences between all of those trees? Why would you do that? Because you will understand chaos exists even in the smallest, minute levels of existence. No 2 trees are the same. No 2 people are the same. Not even 2 rocks. There's no 2 rocks the same. Everything has an element of chaos in it. That's why nothing is produced twice, except in factories, man-made. Man-made things can be duplicated, but nature cannot be duplicated. And it's because of the chaos theory. That's why we can't create something that's natural, because of the chaos theory. Now, what does that mean? Meaning, anybody who's been outside at night, since it's not really too many people, it's not too much going on, but there is still opportunity ever present. Now, what do I mean? Now, right now, at this location, there's nothing going on. But let's just say I was at the Strip, the Las Vegas Strip, for example, in my particular city. It's a very, very busy time right now, even at this time. And I'm definitely going to show an example of that very, very soon. What does that mean? Meaning, at some point in everybody's city, there is some shit going on right now, at night, at 3 a.m. Somewhere, there's a hot spot right now that you can go and see some fucking chaos, no matter what city you're in. May not be the nice part, it may not be the bad part, it may be somewhere in between, but everywhere there is a hot spot, and it could be multiple depending on where you are, right? It's about discovering those hot spots. What do I mean? If you take it upon yourself to discover those hotspots, which most people are afraid, you know, because they don't know what's going on, who's around, what may happen, all these things that keep people mentally enslaved. If you can discover your hotspots in the midst of the night, where there is actually something going on, there is a reason why there is things going on at that particular hotspot. There's a reason why that spot was chosen. There's a reason why that spot is active. But most of the time, motherfuckers are not thinking about shit like that, right? There's a reason why there be motherfuckers gambling on a particular corner on a particular night at a particular time, right? As I was saying, every hour is ruled by a different planetary energy. That makes a difference. So it may be a hot spot somewhere at 3 a.m. That same hot spot may not be there at 4 a.m. and it may not have been there at 2 a.m. But there is a particular hot spot in every city at certain times. But you will have to travel around to find where those hot spots are and be in the midst of those hot spots. Do you think the world is coming to an end? The world has been over, you know? The world has been over a long time ago. Now, what do I mean by that? Spirituality, you can say, has a bigger impact than anything else at this point. People are more into who and what they are than what the church is talking about, what the teacher is talking about, what their parents is talking about. People are more concerned with what's going on with them. People are discovering themselves. So all the influence that the world used to have is no longer relevant, because we are in the information age and people can just look up all this shit themselves. You don't really need all these individuals in your life like you needed before. You needed a team of people around you to guide you correctly now. You don't really need that now. You can really be on your own and make anything happen if you wanted to, if you had the knowledge to do so, whether it's physical knowledge or digital knowledge. Give me 1 second here. Look at these streets. Now, what is my point? When you discover the chaos in your city, because I'm talking about practical things now. See, we talked about the philosophy before, but we're talking about the practical things. When you go around your city and you find the hot spots at night, and you study and see what is it about this spot. If you study deep enough, if you observe deep enough, to the point where you may even talk to the people, well, it may be a particular restaurant that's open 24 hours, that at a particular time, they just have a rush of people going there and buying up the food to the point where it looks like it's 3 p.m. and it's 3 a.m. You may find something like that going on in your particular city. You may want to ask, like, yeah, what the fuck make everybody want to come here at this particular time and just rush in to get food? There's a reason why that happens. There's a reason why certain people want to hang around a particular corner or a particular store or a particular location at a particular time. All these things appear to be random, but they really are not once you understand the mathematical nature of everything in the universe. Everything is ruled and based off of mathematics, planetary energies. That's why astrology and numerology is important to study and know, because you can see all these things for what they really are. You can break everything down into a planetary energy or a number or an entity or a deity, whatever you're into. So this is realism. I've been listening to hours of your videos, sending you love. This is great stuff. Absolutely. Shout out to you. My creative freedom. Shout out to you, bro. So, discover the hotspots in your city late at night. And study and see why that spot is hot. The more you do that and the more often you do that, you will be able to, in a sense, predict where it would happen next. You may not always be accurate, but you can at least be closer to what's going on, especially if you're thinking about money. Because money, you can say, is Mercury. It's the fastest moving energy in the universe, especially digital currency at this point. The money likes to move around. The money doesn't like to stand still. So if you want to be there for a money rush, let's just say you're a salesman, an entrepreneur, right? You want to make some business sales. You're going to have to find out where those hot spots are to make sales. You're not going to stand on an empty corner or an empty storefront and expect to make sales. You got to go to where the people are, right? But where exactly are the people? Every day may not be a busy day for every company. It moves around. It's chaos. It is absolute chaos, but the chaos can be predicted if you put in the time and study to understanding how it works. For example, let's just say the day that's coming in is Wednesday, the day of Mercury. Fastest revolving planet around the sun. I believe it rotates around the sun in like 87 days, if I'm not mistaken. Now, there's something special about that number, 87. 87 can be broken down to 15. 15 can be broken down to the number 6. When we apply numerology to 87 and we break it down to the number 6, and we understand that that is the energy of Venus, or the planet Venus, or the number 6, however you want to break it down, you know, Hathor, Hecate, if you want to think about a deity, or the heart chakra, if you want to link it to the chakras, or the metal copper, if you want to link it to a metal, so on and so forth. So if today is Mercury, the day of Mercury, it takes 87 days to rotate around the sun. This is why these numbers are important, because it gives you more information about the actual day and what goes on. You can be able to see that play out in your actual day if you understand the mathematics. If you don't understand mathematics, you're not going to be able to understand things when they play out in front of you. Now, every day is a certain planet, a certain energy. Study the planet and look at the numbers associated with it, whether it's how long it takes to rotate around the sun, how far away it is from the planet Earth. Whatever numbers you want to look into this planet, look into the numbers. Study the actual planet. Memorize the numbers. Memorize as much as you can memorize about the planet Mercury or whatever planet on whatever day. Keep the mathematics in your head. Keep all these formulas and these numerology patterns and all this. Keep these things in your mind so that you can have access to these things whenever you need to. Now, when would you need access to these things? To understand how the energy of Mercury works. If you're trying to understand how the energy of a certain day is going to play out, you're going to have access to the numerology. What does the word Mercury actually breaks down to? Why is Mercury linked to money? What is it? What is the association with Mercury and the number 5? You start to contemplate on all these things that have something to do with Mercury or whatever planet you decide to work with. You want to increase and expand your knowledge on all of these things every time the day comes around. So next Wednesday, when Mercury comes back around, you should know more about Mercury. Every week, every cycle, you should dedicate that day to learning more about that energy so that the next week that comes around, you can continuously add on and expand your knowledge about a particular energy. The more and more you expand your knowledge about a particular energy, the more evident these things become understandable to you. For example, you may not understand why, let's just say you see a car crash. You're en route, you see a car crash. There's a reason why that car crash happened at that particular location, at that particular time, and there's a reason why you were able to observe it. Meaning there's a reason why you were at that particular location when it happened as well. Now, whether that's a big deal or not to you is based on your perspective, but when things stand out to you, there's a reason why certain things happen at certain particular places. Just like there's a reason why your natal chart asks, where were you born? Grand Rising from Trenton, New Jersey. Shout out to fucking Jersey. What it is, Roosevelt. There's a reason why your natal chart asks you where you was born, and that makes a difference. Meaning, what is it? Where you were born affects how your chart plays out. Meaning, location matters. So, if you were born in New York, it's going to be a difference between whether you was born in California. Even if you were born at the same time, but even though there's a time difference, but let's just say you were born in the same moment as somebody else, you're still going to have not a completely different chart, but a very chart with a couple variables based on your location is going to affect your ascendant sign. It's not going to affect your sun sign, but it's going to affect little bitty details. It's going to affect your aspects. When you study your natal chart, there's going to be certain aspects that are affected. You ever been to San Fran? No, I have not been to San Francisco yet, but I plan to go one day. So I haven't been to Northern California. I've only been to the southern parts. Now, so we understand that location matters, because you can see that in your own natal chart if you're into astrology. Location matters. Being able to know more and more about certain energies gives you insight into why certain things happen on particular days. Now, going back into the chaos, anything can happen. We understand this. We understand that anything can happen. But on the flip side, there's order to why anything can happen, meaning anything can happen, which allows everybody a fair chance at success. But you also could lose your life in the process, whether you're doing, you're in the streets or not. You can just be driving to work and die, or walking to work and die. So this is why it's not really about what you're doing, because now we have to talk about karma. A lot of people stay away from certain things because they feel like it builds up bad karma, and that's going to come back on them. It's not what you do that builds up bad karma, it's what you don't do. What do I mean by that? It's not about what activities you're engaged in. It's about what activities you're not engaged in. For example, if you think you're doing something bad or wrong, that's what creates the karma, more so than what you're actually doing. So we understand, if a lion doesn't create bad karma for eating a giraffe because it had to eat or it would die itself, and it can't just substitute its diet for just eating grass and plants and all that. It's not built for that type of diet. It needs meat. It needs flesh. If a lion doesn't create karma, doing what it must do to survive, what makes us think that there's a difference there? Now, we can say we're more evolved than the lion, but are we really? A lion doesn't have to find out who and what he is or she is. It just knows. But we're going all over the place trying to discover what's going on. The reason why we're trying to discover who we are lets you know that there's some shit wrong. The fact that you have to think about who you are, what you want to do in life and all that, the reason why we even have questions in our head means that there is something not right. Because those are questions that should have been answered in your youth. This is what you're here to do. This is what your chart says. This is what's going on. But we didn't have any of that. Motherfuckers was just going to work and coming home paying fucking bills. Nobody told you anything in concern with what you're here to do, who you are, what's really going on, how the world really works. You were not granted that information. Therefore, when you became an adult, yo, what's up? Clocking to you. So, when you became an adult, you had to figure out all these things on your own. Unless, again, you were privileged enough to have Detroit. Shout out to Detroit always. You know what I mean? Unless you were privileged to have parents that knew what their deal was. So, since we have to discover all these things about who we are, who everybody else is, since we are pretty much out here on our own discovering life, and we have to learn on our own based on observation, based on trial and error, we have to teach ourselves these things. That's why we're in the information age. Because we're not going to be like the previous people on the earth. We're not going to be like the future people on the earth. We're going to be like this century. We're going to be the people of the 21st century. We're not going to be like the people of the 20th century, and we're not going to be like the people of the 22nd century. We are the people of the 21st century. That's the time we live in. So we're going to have a unique, particular experience based on the times we are in. So that's why you can't use knowledge from back in the day and try to share it from the Facebook. Shout out to you. You can't use knowledge from yesterday trying to figure out what's going on today, because there are elements and variables that are available today that wasn't there before, such as the internet. The internet wasn't available in the 50s. So we can't do what they did in the 50s, the 1950s, to succeed in the 2000s, because things have become a lot more complex and complicated. You have to do more. So that's the thing. It's not for us to do less, it's that we have to do more. Because back in the day, you may not have necessarily had to ask yourself those questions, because maybe it was a stronger family unit involved. Maybe people were more connected to their spirituality. And you can say that people genuinely kind of knew what direction they wanted to go in. We are more confused than the people in the past. You can say, who knows how confused the people of the future will be? Hopefully not as confused. But the reason we're in this questionable state where everybody is questioning reality and what's really going on, the government, so on and so forth, we're doing all this so that they don't have to do all this shit in the future, so that you don't have to go through all this chaos like we have to go through. Like, we are the trendsetters. After the year 2000, we entered into the third millennia. So, we not only entered into the 21st century, we also entered into the third millennia. See, that's the difference. A millennia is a 1,000-year cycle, whereas a century is a 100-year cycle. So we didn't just go from the 20th century to the 21st century, or the second millennia to the third millennia. That's a huge difference. This is why things like the internet came about, the digital revolution, the information age. It wasn't just strictly because we went from the 20th century to the 21st century. It's because we went from the second millennia to the third millennia. So the second millennia was from the year 1000 to the year 2001, I believe. This millennium will be from 2001 to 3001. So because we entered into a whole new 1,000-year cycle, not just a 100-year cycle, a 1,000-year cycle, we started this millennia in the information age and the digital revolution. That's why all this digital stuff is prominent at this point. Because we entered into the third millennia. What do these things have in common? The number 3, whether you're talking about the third millennia or the 21st century, they both break down to the number 3, which is the number of Jupiter. And Jupiter is all about high science, whether we're talking about music, whether we're talking about, poetry. It's doing things at the highest caliber, college level, higher learning, so on and so forth. Philosophy, things that you have to tap into your right brain, or you can say both hemispheres of the brain to even comprehend. Yeah, both hemispheres to comprehend certain things. So you have to tap into your artistic side as well as your logical side and piece these things together. Jupiter is also the number of alchemy as well. So what they both have in common is a number 3. That's why number 3 is prominent. That's why, you see such, the one thing you seeing evolve more so than anything else besides technology is music. Music has been very progressive. Especially if you are looking at music as a whole. Music has greatly progressed since the 2000s, since the 1990s. Music has definitely taken a more, you could say it's speeding up. The content is changing, it's completely different. It has a completely new face because we entered into the third millennia. Now, what does all this mean? This is why we're thinking about we have access, not even that we're thinking about it, we literally have access to all information. Anything you can possibly think of, you have access to it. You couldn't do that in the 20th century. You couldn't do that in the 19th century. You couldn't do that in the second millennia. This type of shit, this YouTube, this was not available in the second millennia or the 20th century. You couldn't do things like this. So, if we're using that old knowledge, trying to survive in this era, it's not going to work. For example, this is why you can't really listen to your parents on how to succeed in this world at this time because they didn't have things like this. So they don't truly understand the opportunity available at these times because they didn't grow up with this shit. We grew up with this shit. That's why we're more adaptable and open to things like this. I'm more open to YouTube and the internet because I grew up playing video games. That's just the era I was in. But for somebody who didn't, for somebody who never had a grasp of technology, all these things are still there. Even though you may have a cell phone, you may have a computer, you may have a laptop, you may not be computer literate. You may know how to get on Google and play little games, but you may not be computer literate, meaning you really know how to fully access a computer and what it's fully capable of. You may not have that understanding if you didn't grow up in these times and be exposed to technology, which is high science, which is quantum mechanics. What makes all these things possible, computers, binary code, video games, and all these things we see nowadays is quantum mechanics, which is why I talk so much about quantum physics and chaos theory, because all these things go together. The more you understand these topics, the more you're going to understand the world around you. The more you understand chaos, because chaos rules, whether we're talking about technology or we're talking about what actually goes on in the streets. Chaos. The more you understand chaos theory, the more you're going to understand everything else, because everything else is based on that understanding. If we look at the 90s, 1990s, that's when they started to implement chaos theory and quantum physics and mechanics into all of these technology things. That's why that's when things actually started to advance, if you really want the truth. Because let's go into it. If you go back to Isaac Newton, who basically talked about how the universe is mechanical and predictable. He came with that theory, with the, you know, the solar systems in the classrooms and everything, you know, rotates around everything else. That's Isaac Newton. But when chaos theory was rediscovered, because it was already discovered, but this is the thing, certain things are rejected by modern day science that they come to realize that they were wrong. For example, motherfuckers been talking about a flat earth for about 100 years now, maybe even longer than that. But people are just now picking up on it and realizing, we actually do live on a flat plane. But this is nothing new. We just have rediscovered it. And because we have the technology and we have the consciousness to truly research these things, you have YouTube, you have books to read, you can really research this stuff and really come to a grounded conclusion, then you understand, they were actually onto something 100 years ago, but it was rejected. But that doesn't mean they were wrong, it just was rejected. So all the things that were rejected, such as chaos theory and quantum physics, when they first came about, which is why people like Nikola Tesla isn't remembered like he should be, and his contributions to science, because they rejected it at first, only to realize that he knew what the fuck he was talking about later on and use his technology but for their own gains. You know. So, getting back to it, this is why these are really, in my opinion, the most important topics that you can study at this point in life. Chaos theory, quantum physics, quantum mechanics, and all the things that go along with this stuff. I'm going to continue to talk about these things, but these things are heavily important because if you want to understand life in 2017 and going forward, this is what makes things so complex. This is what's making the computer so nice to look at. This is what makes the cell phone so nice to look at, where you will pay $1,000 for a phone. You will pay $1,000 for a laptop. You will pay $1,000 for a TV. Why are people willing to pay all this money? Or, you know, money is relative. But people have no problem just throwing a check at this new technology. People are going to be lined up when the new iPhone come out, if it isn't already out. Motherfuckers will wait 24 hours around the corner and all that when this technology shit drop, because it's not a problem, because we understand this is where all the money is. This is where everybody is going. This is where the shit is. People want more complex things. People want shit instant. We are in an instant manifestation time where people want things manifesting instantly. We are in the accelerated times. Things are no longer slow. Now, they may appear slow if you're looking at all this stuff. Everything just seems slow, calm, peaceful. But we talking about what goes on up here and what's going on in these cell phones, is what's going on these TVs and what's going on in these laptops and computers. You actually see what is really going on beyond the surface of what we actually perceive with our eyes. This is when we get into the subconscious and the unconscious and things of this nature. Because if we understand chaos theory or the butterfly effect, that something small can have a huge difference over time. A small change can have a huge difference in the bigger picture. For example, if you wake up and you take a different route to work, small difference, but that can completely affect your mood and how your whole day goes based on what you see during the time that you know, the route you take and what you see on that route. That can completely influence your whole day. Something as small as taking an alternate route to work can completely affect the rest of your day. You may meet somebody, you may see something that was very interesting or something that's very disgusting. Anything can happen that will affect your whole day. The whole course of your day will be altered from that little small altercation. That's chaos theory. Understanding that small things have big differences in the long run, in the overall scheme of things. This is why when you take every day to learn little things, little points, you may not understand the whole of quantum theory, quantum mechanics. You may not understand those whole concepts at one particular time. But if you make the small little steps to understand more of it day by day, eventually you're going to have a greater grasp on it, more so than somebody else who just say it's just too complex to understand, I don't get it, and just left it alone. But if you are diligent enough to study things piece by piece, you will understand that these small little things are going to have a major impact in your future. And at the same time, if we understand something small like that, to alter your route to work can completely change your whole day. It can potentially change your whole life. As simple as that. It's simply altering your route to work, or your route home, or your route to wherever you're going. Whatever you do anyway, you just take different routes. You listen to different music. You talk to different people. You switch up your workflow. All these things, while small in the moment, have huge differences. That's what Mercury is all about. Mercury is all about sudden change, quick change, going from nothing to something at the snap of a finger. Magic. Taking something small and meaningless and giving it meaning. Right? Which is essentially what an altar is. An altar is a collection of items that essentially mean nothing to the average person, but you assign meaning to these things on an altar, and by you assigning meanings to the things on these altars, you give these things power, not only in the physical world, but also in your subconscious, because you are creating the space physically to organize your thoughts mentally. So every time you look at that altar, you have the real meanings in your mind, which is affecting your subconscious, creating certain patterns in your brain so that it starts to influence you on a subtle level, on a symbolic level, because now you're looking at symbols that you have created for yourself, which small little things have major changes. Just having an altar in your home, something small, can create a major change in your reality. I know it's super dark over here, but that's why we're talking about the darkness. You know what I mean? So, this is why we're having these type of conversations, because things are going to become more and more relevant as we go further into, 2020, 2030, 2040, 2050, all these things. That's what the world is always going to be ending. There's always going to be the world was supposed to be over in 2000, was supposed to be over in 2012. It's probably going to try to be over this year. It's a way for people to make money. You know how much money people have made from this end of the world scams? You know how much money people have made from gambling scams? You know how much money people have made off of fucking holidays that are fabricated? These are money spells or money openings. If you know, every Thanksgiving and every Christmas, somebody's going to make $1 million. We already know that's going to happen just because of the programming. People are going to spend their money on turkeys, presents, food, so on and so forth. That's a money portal that's opening up, that has been created. It's a money portal that's been created, so every time around that time, people are going to spend their money on particular things. So instead of us talking about these things are not real, Christmas is fake, Thanksgiving is fake, Independence Day is fake, we know the truth. It's time to get the cash. It's not about whether this shit is real or fake. It's about, people are going to spend their money, because it ain't nothing nobody can do about it. You're not going to change the fact that people are going to spend their money on Christmas. Don't even waste your time doing that. But what you can do is maximize the opportunity available at that particular time. For example, we understand that everybody isn't going to accept their spiritual destiny. We understand this shit. There ain't no point of trying to change it. There's no point of trying to educate people that don't want to be educated. Don't waste your time. But what you can do is educate yourself. You can empower yourself. Fuck everybody else who ain't with the shits. Don't waste your energy trying to change things that are not going to change, at least in our lifetime. But you can always take advantage of the opportunities. So just, you tried fasting for 36 hours. Shit was life-changing. You felt high. Thinking about going for 3 days. I mean, salute to you. Honorable dude, you know what I mean? Everybody can't do it, like I was saying earlier. Everybody can't take those hunger pains. So anybody who got through 24 hours, you're doing something that very, 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 very less than 1% of the people on earth do willingly. That's definitely something beyond the norm, and just for you to say that it's life-changing just lets motherfuckers know that, yo, something as simple and small as not eating, sometimes not drinking if you're doing a dry fast, can completely have a great effect on your overall life. Do you think we can serve self and educate a little, like posting videos? It's weird because people was treating me better because your vibration was accelerated. Now, what do you mean, Sam? What do you mean? Do you think we can serve self and educate a little, like posting videos? Like, what do you mean? Do you think you can do it? Of course you can do it, but I'm pretty sure you are asking something else. But going back to clock into you, that's how you know everything is about energy. It's not about how you look. It's not about what you do. It's not about nothing. It's strictly all about energy. People are going to respond to your energy. So when you accelerate your vibration by fasting, by being more conscious, you are going to get a different reaction from the universe on a subconscious level. See, people think that we're being judged consciously, or people are looking at you and casting judgment and, you know, whatever the case is. That's not the case. It's all about your energy. When your energy is accelerated to a point where most people's energy is not accelerated like that, because most people are not fasting, right? So most people's energy never break this cap. They have a cap on their energy because they don't fast. Meaning they don't truly heal themselves, or they try to spend all this ridiculous money trying to heal themselves with all these products that end up not working. So when you fast, you are able to go above that cap of energy, which the average person is even used to being around. And by you breaking past that cap, your energy levels accelerate. When your energy levels accelerate, people react to you differently, because now it's like if you are a fan of Dragon Ball Z, it's like becoming Super Saiyan. That's the best example I can give. You become a Super Saiyan when you fast, which is just an accelerated level of consciousness, which everybody around you have never really seen that or felt that before. So by them just being new to that energy, they're going to treat you better, because they're going to treat you with a lot more respect for just doing something like that, even whether they know or not know. But we understand it's all about energy. When you change your energy, you're going to change the way people react to you. Not just people, just energy in general, whether it be herbs, whether it be plants, everything is going to react to you differently. Animals are going to react to you differently. Babies are going to react to you differently. Everything is going to react to you differently. The stars are going to react differently, everything. Never thought diet was important. Glad I did fast after Vegas. My meditation was on point. Definitely, man. Salute to you, man. Definitely keep it up and see how far you can take it. Now, let me get to Sam. I'm a Pisces. You feel your life purpose is to serve. You're an empath. Well, I understand I can't change people. I think it is my purpose to try to plant seeds of tomorrow. I didn't say don't try. I say don't waste your time. Meaning, there's people out there who need your help. Trust me, there's people out there who would appreciate your service. But there's also people out there who won't appreciate your service. And what I'm telling you is, don't focus on the people that don't appreciate it or who won't appreciate it. Focus on the people that will. But you don't always know who those people are until you try. So yes, try. Figure out who you need to serve and who you don't need to serve. But yes, try, put yourself out there, make yourself known, and do what you must. But again, everybody's not worth your time. Everybody's not worth your energy, because instead you're trying to raise up people's vibration. They're going to lower your vibration. Oh, you see that effect? You see the effect the lights is making and shit? Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Anyway, so serve to the best of your ability those who will appreciate you serving them. May I ask how to not absorb people's energy? Their thoughts are drained. Okay, so not absorb people's energy, you have to accelerate your own energy. What do I mean by that? Most of the time when we pick up on other people's vibes and all that stuff, like they say, majority rules. If you're surrounded by a group of low vibrational people, you're going to be the next. Yeah, see, I like that effect. Let me just stand here right now so you can see this shit. When you're around a bunch of low vibrational people, majority rules. So if it's 6 low vibrational people, you're going to become the 7th. It just is what it is. That's just math. That's just mathematics. You know what I mean? See this shit? That's just mathematics. But on the other hand, that's fucking cool. Let's just say you have to deal with these people. Let's just say you can't just walk off on these people and say, fuck you. These may be your family, maybe your co-workers, maybe some people that you have to tolerate, at least for a particular amount of time. You have to shield yourself. You have to create a shield around you so that you don't absorb that. And the way to shield yourself is, for one, you just have to take yourself more seriously, meaning, right, if you understand that there's money involved, you just got to be real with yourself. Like, you're only around these people to collect a check. You're just there to get a fucking check, pay your fucking bills. So it's pretty much just business only. So because it's business only, there's no reason to really be around these people other than what you need to do for your living. So for example, creating a shield around yourself, you can do this consciously or subconsciously. So you can consciously imagine, you can say imagine a black ball of energy around you. Now you can say, why black? Doesn't black absorb energy? Not necessarily, because I have a step 2. Imagine a black ball of energy around you, then on top of that black layer of energy, imagine a rainbow colored ball of energy around you. So you have 2 layers. You have a black layer, then you have a rainbow colored layer. You imagine that around you and keep that in your mind at all times. So don't just do it, then forget about it. Keep that thought. So every time you walk, you know, you can see in your imagination this black ball of energy surrounded by this rainbow color energy, and you can see it in your mind. So it becomes a mental exercise as well. So it's not just a spiritual exercise, it becomes a mental exercise. When it becomes a mental exercise, this is going to block your mind from being influenced because you're more focused on keeping your shield up. You're keeping your shield up, so your mind is occupied by keeping your shield up. Also, if you don't use mantras, use mantras. Have a mantra that you're chanting in your mind all day, at least while you're at work. So you have this ball of energy around you, and you have these two layers of balls of energies. Then you have a mantra in your mind that you're chanting. So now you're outputting information into the universe as opposed to just being an open vessel. That's the difference. Now you're outputting mantras, you're outputting energies based on the colors. You're pushing information out of you, which is creating a shield. When you push all this information out of you, you are shielding your mind from just being open from influence. So definitely try that out, the mantras and the shield, and see what that does for you. And if you want to accelerate that, of course, fast. Do some fasting, do some exercising, you know, get more serious about your health, get more serious about your diet, get more serious about your spirituality, start studying, you know, the type of things that are being said, and just really find ways to implement these things, which is why, you know, I want to talk about realism and how to actually, you know, put all these things into action. You know, find those hot spots. Would you suggest, as an introduction to this dark shit, wait, hold on. Oh, you say, what would you suggest as an introduction to this dark shit, occult knowledge? I want to create a balance in order to excel. So an introduction, okay. The batteries are getting a little low because I just did 2.5 hours earlier. So I'll probably be on here a couple more minutes. But to answer your question, an introduction, it really depends on what you're trying to learn. Because, you know, there's different paths. Like, there isn't just one way to do this. For example, if you want to study master teachers and all that, you know, you got people like Phil Valentine, you got people like Bobby Hemmett, you got people like Brother Panic. If you want to study some older folks who's been doing this shit for years and years, or if you want to go your own route, you want to practice things for yourself, you want to see what's going on for yourself, then, you know, you can study metaphysics, you can study quantum physics. It really depends on what you're trying to accomplish. Like, there has to be a goal, but let's just say your goal is just wisdom. You can say that's a pure goal, by having a pure heart. So let's just say you just want to know. I just want to know just to know. It isn't particularly a goal or something that I hope to accomplish. It's just really, I just want to know just to know. I just want to see where to lead me. And if you take that approach, you just study anything that appeals to you. Don't look at it as a path, like a linear. Don't look at it as linear. This is point A, and I'm trying to get to point B. There's going to be several points. We're talking about the chaos. One day you may feel inclined to study a certain subject. The next day it may be completely different. The next day it may be completely different. Don't look at it as a straight path. Look at it as a journey where you hit as many points as you can, as you choose, and you just study what appeals to you. That's really all I did. I started off with astrology because that's what appealed to me at the time. You know, when I was younger, I started with astrology, then that expanded to numerology. That expanded to Gnosticism. Gnosticism expanded to Sufism. Sufism expanded to Egyptian mythology and all these things. That expanded to the occult, so on and so forth. So it wasn't like I didn't necessarily follow a straight path either. I just was studying things that appealed to me, and just by me studying things that appealed to me, I started to become more aware of other things. And those other things, I realized later on that all those things was connected with that thing. So I started to see the connections between all these separate things, but that took time. But now that you already understand that everything is already connected, you understand that it really don't matter what you study, just understand that everything is connected. Once you understand that everything is connected, then you understand that if you follow your heart and you study what you want to study and you study the things that's interesting to you, you will create your own map. So here's that effect again. So you see, you don't really see that with the green light, you only see it with the red light. Very interesting, right? I don't even know if y'all can see this shit, but I can see it. You know, you see these red balls of light, but you don't see the green balls of light. You just see the red ones. Interesting. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, definitely. How do I get over social anxiety? How do I get over social anxiety? Social anxiety, you just gotta be bold. It's not gonna be easy. So I'm not gonna make it seem like, oh yeah, just go out there and do it. It's not gonna be easy because it's like the complete opposite of what you are used to. I would say find big crowds. Oh, you know, find a big crowd where there's a lot of people around and just interact with people. See, don't really, it may be a little bit too much to, you know, it's just you and one other person and you're going all the way across the street and you're talking to complete strangers. Go somewhere where everybody is pretty much there for a particular reason already. So when you talk to people, there's already some type of common ground. So you can ask people a question and it's not really weird because everybody is gathered for a particular event, right? So go somewhere where there's some type of common event, common interest. And obviously make sure that you have a connection to it so you don't really have to think of something to ask them. You can just really say, yeah, what's your perspective on this? How do you see this? Introduce yourself and just start talking to people. You know what I mean? And people are going to be open to talk. So you have to go somewhere where there's some type of common ground between what you're interested in and other people being there. And if you can't find a big crowd, like a big event, just find a location where there's already some type of common ground established. So you don't necessarily have to just go completely out of your box. You can stay within your box, just find other people that are also in this box of things of common interest and expand from there. Then that you can take it to uncommon interest from there. So here we go again with the balls of light. So start with common interest, then expand to uncommon interest. It's a process. It's not going to be overnight, but it's not the hardest thing in the world to do either. Hit the Vegas Strip. No, I don't necessarily know if this person is in Vegas, but you know, go downtown. So wherever city you're in, just go downtown. You know, become familiar with the events that are being thrown by the city. It's pretty much events all the time in any city, I'm sure. So, you know, just have fun. You know, that's another thing. Just use mantras as well. If you don't want to smoke weed, to take the edge off or drink alcohol, keep a mantra in your mind. Clean. The mantra clean. K-L-L, no, not L-L, K-L-E-E-M, K-L-E-E-M, clean. Channel the energy of Venus. So that definitely help people be more open to you and you be more open to people. It's definitely a mantra to become more social and to meet people. So there you go. So utilize that mantra and do what I was already previously saying and see what works out for you. All right. I seen the old map of the states being named as its own astrology sign. Absolutely. You know what I mean? The further we go back in history, the more we realize that everything is built on occult science. The people that built the cities, the people that was, you know, that had the funds, the people that became very wealthy and all that had knowledge of the unseen, had knowledge of the occult. There's no getting around that. How else would they understand about, you know, programming and the subconscious mind and what works and what doesn't work? That's occult knowledge. Now they may disguise it as marketing and promotion and all this. All this is just watered down occult science. So if you don't know occult science, you can go to college and learn marketing and advertisement and what appeals to people, what colors are best. That's why most companies, you know, food companies are red.